Leadership does not begin when people start listening to you. It begins long before that, in the quiet moments where doubt sits heavy on your chest and no one is there to remind you who you are or where you are going. It begins when results are absent, when effort feels invisible, and when belief is the only thing you have left to lean on. Self-belief is not a luxury for leaders, it is survival. Without it, pressure crushes you, criticism dismantles you, and uncertainty paralyzes you. Every leader who has ever mattered stood at a point where quitting felt logical, where fear felt justified, and where walking away would have been easier than staying committed. What separated them from the rest was not talent, not resources, not luck, but the ability to believe in themselves when there was no evidence to support that belief. Leadership demands that you walk into resistance daily, that you absorb pressure without transferring it, and that you remain disciplined when emotions are screaming for relief. The pain of leadership is real. It is lonely, it is exhausting, it is unforgiving. And without self-belief, it will break you before you ever have the chance to lead anyone else. Self-belief is built in the fire of struggle, not in moments of comfort. Leaders are shaped when the plan falls apart, when trust is tested, and when responsibility becomes heavy enough to make sleep difficult. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward in those moments, but belief is what gives discipline meaning. You wake up early not because it feels good, but because you believe the work matters. You stay consistent not because progress is guaranteed, but because quitting would betray who you are becoming. Leadership requires that you commit to the process before the outcome is visible, that you give effort without applause, and that you endure criticism without becoming bitter. The struggle is not a sign you are failing, it is proof that you are carrying something meaningful. Leaders who lack belief look for exits when pressure increases. Leaders with belief look inward and find another level of strength. There is a point in every leadership journey where motivation dies. The excitement fades. The vision feels distant. The results slow down. This is where self-belief separates leaders from pretenders. Anyone can lead when momentum is high, but only those with belief can lead when everything feels heavy. Discipline becomes your anchor. Consistency becomes your identity. You show up not because you feel inspired, but because you refuse to abandon your standards. Pain becomes part of the routine. Sacrifice becomes normal. And belief becomes the quiet voice that says keep going even when logic says stop. Leadership is not about feeling powerful. It is about remaining stable under pressure. It is about choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It is about carrying responsibility without letting it harden your heart or weaken your resolve. Every leader must confront themselves before they can lead others. Doubt will challenge your decisions. Fear will question your capability. Failure will attempt to define you. Self-belief is what keeps you grounded through all of it. It reminds you that setbacks are temporary, that skill is built through repetition, and that strength is developed through endurance. Hard work does not always produce immediate rewards, but it always produces growth. Leaders who believe in themselves do not rush the process, they respect it. They understand that consistency compounds, that discipline sharpens judgment, and that pain refines character. Leadership is not about control, it is about responsibility. And responsibility demands belief strong enough to carry pressure without collapsing. Self-belief does not mean you never feel fear, it means fear does not control your actions. Leaders feel uncertainty deeply, but they act anyway. They move forward without guarantees. They make decisions knowing they may be judged, misunderstood, or criticized. This is the weight of leadership. And only belief makes that weight bearable. When others hesitate, leaders decide. When others retreat, leaders advance. Not because they are fearless, but because they trust their ability to adapt, learn, and endure. The struggle is not something leaders avoid, it is something they accept as part of the cost. Every challenge strengthens belief if you survive it. Every hardship deepens discipline if you face it honestly. Leadership is built one difficult day at a time, one disciplined choice, one painful sacrifice, one consistent action repeated until it becomes identity. Self-belief is the foundation that keeps everything standing when exhaustion sets in. Without it, discipline collapses, consistency breaks, and effort loses direction. With it, leaders develop resilience that cannot be borrowed or faked. They become steady in chaos, focused under pressure, relentless in pursuit of their vision. Leadership is not granted. It is earned through pain, patience, and persistence. And at the center of it all is belief strong enough to say, I will not stop, even when stopping makes sense. Belief is what transforms ordinary action into extraordinary leadership. It turns the mundane repetition of daily effort into the invisible scaffolding of future success. Leaders do not rely on circumstances to shape them, they shape circumstances with unwavering faith in their own ability to navigate uncertainty. Every early morning when the world sleeps, every late night when fatigue gnaws at your focus, belief fuels your persistence. The challenges that appear insurmountable to others are merely invitations to stretch your resilience. Pain becomes a teacher that instructs in patience, endurance, and precision. Every setback is an opportunity to reaffirm the truth that leadership is not granted through comfort, but through struggle, and that the mark of a leader is the capacity to carry burdens that others refuse to touch. When doubt screams that you cannot continue, belief whispers that you already have, many times, in ways you do not yet see. This quiet, internal certainty is what separates leaders who rise from those who collapse under the weight of expectation. Leadership demands that you embrace discomfort as a permanent companion. It requires that you confront failure without surrender, that you persist when validation is absent, and that you act decisively when clarity is elusive. Discipline alone is not enough. It must be married to self-belief. Without belief, discipline becomes mechanical, hollow, and unsustainable. Leaders with belief maintain the integrity of their actions, even when every external signal points to futility. They persist because they understand that every moment of suffering, every ounce of sweat, every sleepless night contributes to a larger vision that cannot be fully understood in real time. Consistency, discipline, and self-belief form an unbreakable triad. Remove one, and the structure crumbles. Keep all three, and what seems impossible begins to bend toward reality. Leadership is not measured by moments of comfort, but by the capacity to endure discomfort with dignity, courage, and an unwavering commitment to purpose. The journey of leadership is long and often solitary. There will be times when allies disappear, when critics amplify, when obstacles multiply beyond comprehension. Belief in yourself becomes the lifeline in these moments, the anchor that prevents drift into despair. It is the force that compels action when motivation is absent, when energy is depleted, and when hope feels distant. Leaders are not immune to fear or exhaustion. They are defined by the decision to continue despite these natural reactions. Every successful leader has walked through nights thick with doubt, moments heavy with uncertainty, and periods where every logical argument suggested retreat. Yet belief creates a form of mental immunity, a stubborn resistance to giving in. It teaches that leadership is an ongoing act of courage, a daily choice to show up, lead, and inspire even when no one is watching and no immediate reward is evident. This is the crucible in which leaders are forged. Every obstacle, every failure, and every misstep is a test of the depth of your belief. Leadership is not about avoiding mistakes, it is about enduring them, learning from them, and moving forward stronger than before. Self-belief transforms setbacks into stepping stones, turning what seems like defeat into a rehearsal for future victories. Leaders with belief do not measure themselves by transient success. They measure themselves by their capacity to endure, adapt, and evolve through relentless effort. Pain becomes a signal to deepen resolve, struggle becomes a call to sharpen skills, and uncertainty becomes a challenge to trust one's judgment. Through consistent action fueled by belief, leaders craft influence, build trust, and create a legacy not dictated by circumstance, but by unwavering internal strength. Belief also empowers leaders to inspire others without words. When your actions reflect absolute confidence in your own ability, others instinctively recognize your competence. They follow not because you demand it, but because your belief radiates a certainty that makes indecision impossible. Leadership is therefore a contagion of conviction. One leader who refuses to waver instills courage, discipline, and hope in everyone around them. Yet, this influence cannot be manufactured. It grows naturally from the leader's own internal certainty. Honed through relentless practice, sacrifice, and refusal to quit in the face of adversity. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to demonstrate strength, every moment of pressure a stage for resilience, and every hardship a chance to prove that leadership is inseparable from belief in oneself. Leadership without self-belief is a fragile construct. It cracks under the weight of expectation, falters in adversity, and disappears when tested. True leadership is built quietly, in the moments when no one notices, in the repetition of disciplined actions, in the uncelebrated victories of effort over emotion, and in the choice to persist when giving up is easier than continuing. The foundation of leadership is belief strong enough to resist fear, doubt, and external pressure. It is belief that converts pain into purpose, struggle into growth, and effort into excellence. Without it, leadership remains an empty title. With it, leadership becomes an unstoppable force that shapes vision into reality, transforms teams into movements, and converts ordinary individuals into extraordinary examples of courage and achievement. The leader who believes in themselves becomes a beacon of possibility, not only for themselves but for everyone who follows their example, a testament to the power of self-belief as the ultimate driver of success, discipline, and influence in the complex and unforgiving landscape of leadership. Belief does not waver because circumstances fluctuate. It is not contingent on applause, validation, or external recognition. It grows in the quiet moments, when no one sees the work being done, when the hours are long, the body is weary, and the mind whispers that enough is enough. Leaders with self-belief treat every obstacle as a mirror, reflecting the areas they must strengthen, the skills they must refine, and the courage they must summon. Pain becomes informative, not debilitating. Struggle becomes instructive, not defeating. Every failure, setback, and miscalculation is a lesson written in the language of experience, designed to teach endurance, patience, and relentless focus. Leaders understand that progress is not linear, that vision is not instantly realized, and that greatness requires a series of disciplined, repetitive, and often unseen actions. Belief is what allows them to persist through these cycles, to trust the process when results are absent, and to maintain integrity when shortcuts seem tempting. The discipline to keep moving despite uncertainty is inseparable from self-belief. Leaders who rely solely on motivation will falter when inspiration fades. Leaders who rely solely on talent will crumble when skill alone cannot solve the problem at hand. But leaders who combine discipline with unwavering belief create an unshakable foundation. Every action becomes deliberate, every decision becomes measured, and every challenge becomes an opportunity to exercise internal strength. Self belief transforms fear into fuel, doubt into determination, and exhaustion into resilience. The leader who believes in themselves does not pause for validation, they act, they adjust, and they advance. The storms of criticism, the turbulence of setbacks, and the friction of adversity do not derail them. They refine them, strengthen them, and prepare them for challenges that would break those without this core internal conviction. Belief is the engine that converts effort into momentum, that transforms struggle into progress, and that ensures that leadership is not merely a role, but a lived, experienced force that shapes outcomes beyond expectation. Leadership is also about consistency under pressure. The world will test patience, loyalty, and stamina, often when you are least prepared to withstand it. Those who possess self-belief understand that excellence is forged in the crucible of repetition, not the flash of occasional brilliance. They commit to action, not because every outcome is guaranteed, but because they trust in the cumulative power of consistent effort over time. When every step forward is arduous, when every decision carries weight, and when every misstep feels like catastrophe, belief holds steady. It whispers that today's choices matter, that the work being done now compounds into future results, and that no single setback defines the trajectory of those committed to growth. Discipline ensures the continuation of effort. Pain ensures awareness of stakes. Struggle ensures growth. Belief ensures that none of this effort is wasted, that every sacrifice contributes to the ultimate realization of vision, and that leadership remains unwavering, effective, and transformative, even in the face of relentless adversity. Self-belief is ultimately the compass that guides every leader through uncertainty. It enables clarity when confusion clouds judgment. It fosters courage when fear threatens to dominate. It maintains focus when distractions proliferate. Leaders who cultivate this belief internally do not seek external validation because they have built an internal standard that dictates their course. They measure progress not by fleeting accolades, but by adherence to disciplined action, consistency in effort, and resilience in adversity. Leadership, at its core, is not about the ease of the journey, but about sustaining vision, effort, and purpose when the journey is grueling. Self-belief allows leaders to move forward when others falter, to make difficult decisions when easier options present themselves, and to inspire through presence, not proclamation. It is the invisible strength that defines the trajectory of leadership, ensuring that influence is maintained, vision is realized, and impact is profound. In the end, leadership is nothing without self-belief, because every other quality, vision, strategy, charisma, intelligence, is vulnerable to doubt, fatigue, and adversity. Belief acts as the gravitational force that holds all other leadership qualities in orbit. It transforms ordinary individuals into leaders capable of withstanding pressure, inspiring action, and creating lasting influence. Every great leader, every historic figure, every person who has shaped the course of teams, organizations, and movements began with a decision to believe in themselves, even when no one else did. They showed up when quitting made sense. They persevered when hope seemed distant. They acted decisively when uncertainty prevailed. Belief is the hidden engine, the unseen anchor, the unwavering force that allows leaders to convert vision into reality. It is the singular quality that enables endurance, fuels hard work, disciplines action, and ensures that leadership is not only leadership, reaches its true test when responsibility becomes heavier than confidence and expectation outweighs certainty. This is where self-belief stops being an idea and becomes a necessity. When people depend on you, when outcomes rest on your decisions, and when failure carries consequences beyond yourself, belief becomes the backbone that keeps you standing. Leaders do not always have answers, but they must always have resolve. The weight of leadership is not carried by talent alone. It is carried by discipline forged through struggle and reinforced by belief that refuses to collapse under pressure. There are moments when every decision feels wrong, when progress stalls, and when doubt begins to erode clarity. In these moments, self-belief becomes an act of defiance against uncertainty. It is the refusal to surrender mental ground, even when external conditions are hostile. Leadership demands mental endurance more than physical strength, and belief is the muscle that sustains it. Pain in leadership is unavoidable. It comes in the form of criticism, betrayal, isolation, and responsibility that never truly switches off. Leaders feel pressure when others sleep. They carry consequences when others move on. This pain is not a sign of weakness, it is the price of leadership. Self-belief determines whether that pain sharpens you or breaks you. Those without belief retreat, deflect, or become bitter. Those with belief absorb pain, extract lessons, and move forward with greater clarity. Discipline teaches leaders to control their reactions. Consistency teaches them to stay steady regardless of emotion. Belief teaches them that endurance has meaning, even when rewards are delayed. Leadership is not about avoiding pain, it is about learning to function at a high level while pain is present. Hard work in leadership is rarely visible. The preparation, the planning, the constant evaluation of risk and responsibility often go unnoticed. Yet belief fuels the willingness to do this work anyway. Leaders do not work hard because they are watched. They work hard because they are committed. Self-belief reinforces this commitment when fatigue accumulates and motivation disappears. It tells the leader that unseen effort still matters, that integrity exists even without recognition, and that consistency compounds regardless of acknowledgement. Leadership built on belief does not require applause to continue. It requires discipline to show up again, even when yesterday's effort yielded no visible progress. There will be seasons where leadership feels unrewarding, where growth slows, where mistakes feel amplified, where the effort to result ratio feels unfair. This is where belief separates those who endure from those who abandon responsibility. Leaders with belief understand that every season serves a purpose, that stagnation tests patience, and that adversity reveals character. They do not rush growth. They do not compromise standards. They remain consistent, even when the environment does not cooperate. Leadership is not about controlling outcomes. It is about controlling effort, attitude, and commitment under pressure. Belief keeps leaders anchored to these principles when circumstances attempt to pull them apart. Self-belief also shapes how leaders respond to failure. Failure is inevitable when decisions matter. Leaders who lack belief internalize failure as identity. Leaders with belief treat failure as information. They analyze, adjust, and advance. Discipline prevents emotional collapse. Consistency prevents panic-driven decisions. Belief prevents self-doubt from becoming permanent damage. Leadership is not defined by the absence of mistakes, but by the ability to recover without losing momentum. Every failure survived strengthens belief. Every recovery reinforces confidence. Over time, belief becomes unshakable not because failure disappears, but because resilience increases. Leadership ultimately demands emotional control. Fear must be managed. Ego must be restrained. Pressure must be absorbed without distortion. Self-belief provides the internal stability required to lead others through uncertainty. It allows leaders to remain calm in chaos, decisive in ambiguity, and firm under resistance. People do not follow leaders who panic, they follow leaders who remain grounded. This grounding comes from belief earned through experience, struggle, and consistent discipline. Leadership is not about appearing strong, it is about being stable when strength is tested. And that stability is built on belief that has been challenged, tested, and proven through relentless effort.